So you've been with Roger like daily while all this is going on. All this, how's he holding up?
He's holding up very well. Roger is a man of his brain is like a machine. I mean, this guy can recall a name and the date of a senator or a junior senator or a congressman or someone who was running in the congressional race 34 years ago, 20 years ago, and just like that. He's a guy that never stops working. It's one of those types. That's not me. I'm more, I've worked, 4 or 5 hours. I'm ready to take a nap or something,
Right.
Rob, I saw him yesterday, and we spent a couple hours together. Just came back from Great Britain. He did 3 lectures, one at Oxford Union, and I don't know what the other 2 were, but they were pretty prestigious, and he enjoyed himself. And, he's gotten himself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
And people are always ready to blame Roger Stone for any number of crazy things. I mean, this whole, WikiLeaks and Julian Assange is a complete and utter lie. I mean, it never happened. Just as if President Trump's supposed collusion. It's a Russian delusion, is what it is, more than a collusion.
Oh yeah. I just saw Stone on with Chuck Todd the other day, and he really handled himself quite well. I thought. I thought he really dominated the interview. Now, a couple of questions for you. One, have you been questioned by Mueller's group or called him to be questioned by any of these Senate investigations?
No, I have not.
Okay. And your politics, because I know the first few times we talked, you grew up sort of a leftist, a progressive liberal type. And now your politics are more aligned with Stone?
Well, they're more aligned with a sense of a rejection of the two-party system because, as Rogers says, how could it be that so many of the staff in crucial positions that worked for the Bush presidency can then transport themselves over to the Obama presidency?
Right.
I mean, there should be like night and day. So what I've come to realize, in fact, is that Roger is a conservative, but he's got liberal views, as I do, for the abortion issue, gay marriage, gay rights, civil rights, certainly, and the complete and utter stopping of these crazy wars that there's no value to them. They're just a way to spend money and make money for a very elite class of people. So, I'm still kind of conservative in some ways. I'm old school. So, but, marijuana and drugs in general and all that stuff is, that's a personal decision. And there's so much that we've stripped away. The government has stripped away from the American citizens. And the older I get, the harder it is to deal with the fact that everything that I grew up knowing, not just in my family, but in the world around me, is backwards, upside down, or a lie. I mean, Hitler, he didn't die in Berlin. This is my opinion. 9/11, that wasn't done by
19 hijackers.
People living in a cave. You know what I'm saying? So everything, it's so untruthful. Even things like Darwin's principle of evolution, I just don't buy it anymore. I just think that there's more information that the government is not giving its citizens on a huge, broad level, and I don't know why they're doing that. We're not scared to know the truth. We should be advancing intellectually in terms of learning new things. But if they're going to put a hold on everything and tell us some story, eventually, it's time for another revolution or something.
Now, one last question about your personal politics. Roger Stone has a tattoo of Nixon on his back. Would you get a tattoo of Trump on your back?
I'd get a tattoo of Roger Stone.
He seems to be like a really charismatic guy that people really are drawn to him, huh?
Yeah, he's extremely charismatic. He's a very dapper and well-spoken person. He's very polite, very agreeable. he's not like the cold-hearted
Right.
political assassin that he's been made out to be. And much of what has been talked about Roger is mythology, which he's the first one not to even deny it, because as one of Roger's rules is, one of the worst things one can do is be boring. So, when people accuse him of causing the resignation of that governor in New York, what was his name?
Spitzer. Elliot Spitzer.
Right. He won't deny it. He won't offer any factual evidence, and he won't stamp his feet and say, I did it, but he's not going to deny a lot of things. Roger worked so many years in the shadows in these presidential elections, Reagan and Bush's and so forth, that people barely remember seeing him in places, but the effect he created was impacted the election, like the little riot he created down in South Florida, to take the vote away from to take the vote towards Bush,
right,
between that election. So he's a pretty wily guy.
Yeah, what St. John is talking about is when they were counting the Chads, Roger Stone brought in a bunch of these Cuban guys in white shirts with short sleeves, banging on the window. It's brilliant. What about his stuff with Al Sharpton? You ever talk about what his business with Al Sharpton?
No, I didn't. I'm not even aware of they had any business.
He was Al Sharpton's campaign manager when Al Sharpton ran for president. I got to talk to him about this one day. One more question about.
We'll be up in D.C. We're both going to D.C. This evening to attend the big event JFK conference there in Sterling, Virginia, which is right outside of D.C. And it's kind of an important trip for me because, of course, when Watergate happened, my mother was killed. My father went to prison. I left Washington, D.C. We lived in Potomac, Maryland, on the outskirts of the D.C. city line. And I haven't really been back.
Wow.
So this is going to be like the completion of a full circle. I'm going to be able to visit my cemetery where my mother is buried and pay my respect. And kind of like it's a big deal for me to go back there after all this time, when so much happened in that city that could have destroyed my life, and nearly did.
Hey, thank you so much then for taking time out, because I know you're heading off to the airport right after you do this interview. So thank you so much, man. I think I caught you on a good day when you're very reflective on your life. I think I know. Now, what do you make too now? Coming from your CIA background, it appears to me that there's a CIA thread going from the first Bush, obviously, then Clinton with his CIA connections down there in Mena, Arkansas, and then Obama, who went to work for Business International, a CIA front company, right out of college. And then we have this monkey wrench, Trump. Do you see that CIA thread running through the presidency?
I do. I very much do. And that basically started with JFK, of course. The CIA had been had been in strength in their duties prior to JFK, but when I think Truman was the one that created the mandate for CIA, and between Truman and Eisenhower leading up to JFK, there wasn't a lot of there weren't a lot of problems between the White House and the intelligence community. But as the CIA, with each new little coup d'etat that they performed, with each new mini war that they fronted, or war behind, like the Guatemalan coup, the CIA was behind that. There was the one in was it Afghanistan or Iran? No, it was Iran.
Iran.
Even before Guatemala. Yeah. With the oil thing with the British. Every time something like that worked for the CIA, they realized that they were forming a powerful entity to govern foreign policy of the United States. And that had always been the domain of the president, the White House, and the Foreign Service. And Kennedy was first president, really become head-to-head against the CIA in the full realization that these guys and these folks are dictating the foreign policy of this country. Because, as Kennedy found out, and his brother Bobby Kennedy found out, they only knew a small percentage of the operations the CIA was involved. I mean, there were assassination groups. There was, the training of, militia, or there was sabotage in other countries. I mean, they had a whole array of items on their table that they didn't need to check with anybody else. Is it okay if we do this? Can we go into that country and just kill their leader and do this? They felt that they were the final authority on all that stuff. And Kennedy, being at that time, 1962, 1963, it was scary for him, I'm sure, because this was a huge monster that had just broken its chains and was running rampant. And that, of course, is one of the main reasons why Kennedy had to go.
Is that what you're going to be sharing about Kennedy tonight?
Actually, I don't speak until Sunday, but, I always wing it because I tried having copious notes and all this stuff, and people really enjoy it when I just sit down on the edge of the stage, the microphone, and just talk to them like I'm talking to you. They can raise their hands and ask questions, and I really affect people that way. I read a letter of apology to Caroline Kennedy, which I wrote two Novembers ago, and I read it every time I do a lecture or a speech, saying just how deeply sorry and the weight of what I've had to carry, that my father could have had and probably had something to do with the murder of her father, and in my view, how wonderful she's carried this horrible thing. I mean, this was horrible, and I just felt so sorry that and also stepped up and apologized. So so it brings me to the precipice of emotions. But that's what people draw on when they hear me. It's because it's such a human element. I'm not. All the other lecturers, they're all great guys, great researchers, and they embrace me wholly. But their facts, figures, graphs, diagrams, photo overlays, photo facial reconstruction, all these numbers and figures and this and that, and I'm just a regular person just talking, about how it's affected me personally and in my life, and people can really relate to that.
Okay, so now give us a rundown. Who's going to be speaking? Where is it? How can we find it? How can we buy tickets?
Oh yeah, well it's going to be held in Sterling, Virginia. So you'll be flying into to the Dulles Airport and get a free transport over to the hotel. It's at the Holiday Inn, and it's going to be starting tomorrow at early, I think 10 a.m. People can go online to jfkconferencebc.com, jfkconferencebc.com, and it's called the Big Event. And there's going to be a hell of a lot of good speakers there. Ed Tatro, who is one of the finest researchers into the JFK assassination, Dr. Cyril Wecht, who was the nation's top pathologist. Roger Stone's going to be there. I'm going to be there. So is Gordon Ferry, Judith Berry Baker, who was Lee Harvey Oswald's summertime fling in New Orleans right before the assassination. Chris Milligan of Friday Books is going to be there. The topics are going to be vast and extremely interesting. James Spetzer, who's written many books, is an excellent author and researcher. He's going to be speaking there. And it's going on from tomorrow morning to the 11th, Sunday. I fly back on the 11th.
Okay, excellent. It's called The Big Event, jfkconferencedc.com. Now, we were talking about the CIA, this threat of the CIA through the presidency all these years. But it seems like there's a departure from that with Trump, right? But are you concerned with Trump surrounding himself with these generals?
I'm concerned about a lot of things. So Trump now, according to Roger, who spoke with yesterday, is is isolated himself.
Right.
He's alone in that